Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Lovable 2.0. Ask me anything. If you can hear me, if you can see me, and you're feeling all right, I'm going to need you to put a one in the chat so we can make sure that our live stream is perfect. Yes, I'm so excited to be here. I'm so excited for the Lovable 2.0 launch. What a great moment in history. And I'm so great to have the team with me. So please, if you can hear me, if you can see me, put that one in the chat. Awesome. I see the ones coming in. Also, tell me where you're from. We want to see where you're from. I see somebody from Texas. I see someone from the Potomac in Maryland, South Africa, San Francisco. Uganda, Hungary. Awesome. I love it. I love it. My name is Talisha White. I am the community lead here at Lovable, and I'm so excited that everyone is joining us today. And I want to introduce you to who we have on this live stream today. And I'm going to let them introduce themselves. And we're going to kick it off with Nad. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey, I'm Nad, designer at Lovable. Hopefully some of you recognize me already, just from some of these streams in the past. But yeah, I've basically been working hard trying to figure out like what's the shape of Lovable and how we're all using it, and then what can it enable you as well.
Wonderful. All right, Fabian, you can go
Cool.
ahead.
Yeah, hey everyone, I'm Fabian, one of the co-founders together with Anton here, and I work on the engineering, trying to make the product better.
Awesome. And Anton.
Thanks, Alicia. It's fun to hear your introductions always. I'm Anton, and I'm also a co-founder with Fabian, and I'm been so grateful to just see that people like what we're doing, what we've been building at Lovable, and we know that this is just the beginning. As we say, we want to build the last piece of software that lets you create all the other software. So that's
Awesome.
back to you, Alicia.
Wonderful. Awesome. So we're going to get started here. We have some questions that the community have given us. And after we answer those questions, we'll let the live stream viewers ask their questions. If you have a question, please in the chat put a Q in a colon so that we can find your question and get it answered live on the live stream. We're going to start off though with Nat, and he's going to give us a little insight to the inspiration between all of these beautiful covers for Lovable 2.0.
Yeah, so actually we weren't planning to rebrand, but we basically realized that we shipped with one brand last November, and there was a huge dissonance between kind of everything that we shipped, which was more or less out of convenience because we were just so focused on building the product, and everything that we felt whenever we would talk to any of you. Like literally, we would come out of these meetings and be like, wow, like people feel completely empowered. Like they feel like they can, unlock like an era of possibility that they just didn't think this was ever possible. That you can create things at superhuman speed. And then we looked at the brand that we had before and it just felt a little bit dark, a little bit, I don't know. Sorry, I have a cat who's interrupting the stream.
This is standard when you're streaming with Nat.
Yeah,
cats are
completely
all over.
normal. And so we wanted to refresh everything. We wanted to add a little bit more color. We wanted to make it feel more vibrant because frankly, whenever we look at our users and anything being created, it is super vibrant. And so the idea was, represent the kind of spectrum of possibility. And then here we are.
Wonderful. I love it. Thank you so much, Nat. So we're going to get started with our questions. We're going to start with a few questions that the community submitted previously. But of course, if you have a question, please put it in the chat, question Q colon, so that we can get to it. So the first question I have, what were the main improvements that came with Lovable 2.0?
Yeah, so who answers it? Anton, you or me? Should I take it?
Go for it.
Yeah, so I mean, besides like the obvious UI changes, a big new feature that we released was chat mode, which allows you to chat with the AI, and we built a whole new system to power this more conversational I barely don't want to say agent, but that's what we call it internally. But it's more a conversational mode where you can try to get unstuck better with Lovable. And I think internally, when we've been testing this, it has been a big unlock in getting better. So I think that's the main piece for me.
Awesome. Wonderful. So we're all going to say goodbye to Ned. He has other things to do, but we thank him greatly for talking to us about brand and design. So everybody say bye, Ned.
Bye. See you later.
Awesome.
That's
Great.
short.
So another question we have from the community, and this was a big one. What's the difference between inviting a user to a project versus a workspace? Anton, I'll let you take that one.
So if you have a project that you started and you want to give someone access to that, you can just give them access purely to the project. Or you can think, let's create a workspace with my friend on multiple projects that we might be creating over time. And if you want to do that, then you give them access to you invite them to the workspace with a link or their email.
Yeah, I think shortly said, a workspace is kind of, if you work in a team, you can think of like you have a physical team, you create a workspace, you invite everyone in the team, and you can create a bunch of projects, and you all have default access to these projects together. And if you're doing like a one-off type collaboration thing, then you can just invite people directly to a project.
Wonderful. Okay. From LinkedIn, Rodney asks, how much traffic can a site I create with Lovable handle? I think Rondi wants to be the next unicorn, and can Lovable handle that?
Great question. I won't say it can handle infinite amount of traffic, but if it's just a website, Fabian, I think it's pretty close to it can handle infinite amount of traffic.
Yeah, I would surprise if anyone can like bring down the hosting based on traffic.
Very surprised.
We use
state-of-the-art infrastructure. I would say,
primitives
to keep it
that
simple.
serve that serve a lot more than just our users. So in practice, unlimited.
But that's for your for the website. If you set up Superbase, then Superbase has its, I would say, separate scale limitations, and they are not infinite. You can read up on Superbase website what exactly those limitations are. They're still, I would be very surprised if someone who's built on Lovable get close to reaching those limits in the coming months, I would say. So it's nothing to worry about. If you have any problems, the support is going to be very eager to help you, because this is something we will want. Like, the scaling is something we are set on supporting very well.
Wonderful. All right. From YouTube, Razul asked the Lovable dev. So I guess that means this one's for Fabian. When are we getting improved UI design output out of the box on Lovable 2.0?
Alicia, can we ask follow-up questions for Razul so we can? Is he in the chat?
Yes.
If you are in the chat, Razul, please write a comment.
Cool. Yeah. Output on the design. So I mean, this is something we're continuously working on improving, and really for the Lovable 2.0, it's been something we've continually improved, and then at the point of 2.0, it's like, all right, now we feel comfortable like slamming the 2.0 on all of these incremental improvements. And we have some internal tests as well, where we do a lot more work on the initial generation, and it takes longer time, but it can produce very cool outputs. So we're continuously experimenting with this as well.
But I can just say, I would love to hear specifically if there's anything on the design that's falling short. When I see comparisons where AI is generating design, I've generally seen that Lovable creates some of the best designs. That's what I mean, not from my opinion, but others. But again, I mean, it's a very subjective question. So, and I would love to hear where we can improve. Like, where is it? What types of designs should we be better at creating?
Love
I
it.
can say, I can just add like a fun tip. Like, if you are like me, I don't know how to design well, so I just let the AI do it, and I tend to see if I am too opinionated, I just make it worse. So I kind of leave it to the AI hands. But you can also go in and be somewhat like semi-opinionated and say like, oh, I want a style like a more traditional style, or please use sans serif, and you can put this into your prompt and kind of get more of your like personal style into it. And it's generally quite good at following this more like specific style guidelines as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
Adding screenshots also help.
Oh yeah,
Screenshots.
screenshots and going to design inspiration sites. Somebody from the community told me that they go to Pinterest a lot. So I think that's really good idea to get, design inspired. So another question I see coming up lots of times within the community are, what are your plans to improve SEO for Lovable generated sites?
Also a good question, Fabian.
Yeah, so I was talking with the team about this the other day, and SEO
Can I first repeat the question? So SEO means that it's easy for people to find your website using Google. That's like, we want it to be easy for people to find a website using Google. And you can find projects, of course, if lovable projects, if they are published and they have a custom domain and so on, via Google. There are a few things that make it easier for Google to show you for the right searches, and that is, for example, that the title of the website is set correctly. So there's an attribute that's called the title, and you can ask Lovable to ensure that some of the metadata is optimized for Google for SEO, and then it will do some of the improvements. But Fabian, there's a few more things on our side to make that easier, make that more seamless, and you can add to that.
So SEO is this kind of very like big bucket of things, like a long checklist of things you should do to get like the best out of it. And one of those things is performance. And if you go and use Lighthouse, which is Google's like performance thing, then new lovable sites, they usually score like 100 on that. So I think that's generally a check mark. Of course, you can start doing like building your site in a way where it becomes non-performant, and then that's something you should like check. But then the main thing for SEO is to first make sure that your site is found by Google, and this is usually done by a link to your site. And that's something where we've talked about helping people create more discoverability. So, for example, we have launch.lovable.dev, where if you add it there, then Google will index your site better, because it will see it in the list of new lovable sites. And there's a lot of things you can do there on your own, like totally separate from Lovable, like posting it on social media and so on. And then I think what we're gonna keep on focusing on and on improving on is that Lovable can become even better at being proactive in fixing SEO best practices. But I would say generally, if you ask Lovable to like make sure to use SEO best practices, you can use chat mode and you can discuss with it like, hey, what are potential improvements on my site? Then you'll get a pretty good back and forth with the AI on things you can improve just for your site.
I love it. All right. We have a question from Boyd. He asks, when do you think software developers are going to make software fully without ever viewing the code? That's ultimate vibe coding right there.
And so I think this is already happening. This has happened today for small, simple things. For complex things, for medium complex things, it's happening this year, not 100% for all types of medium complex things, and for high complexity things, I think it's going to take. I think it's going to happen next year, that you can create full software, complex software without looking at the code.
Love it. Okay. Daniel asks, any time frame for when MCB will be lovable beta?
Oh, so this is an interesting one. We have actually internally tried setting up MCP. What we think is that MCPs can be a way to shoot yourself in the foot if you don't like if you're connecting to an MCP, so what is an MCP? First of all, MCP is a way for our agent, so the Lovable, to use external tools, any external tool, and that can be dangerous. That's what I'm saying. So what we are going to do is that we're going to release the ones that work really, really well. Like, we want it to feel like it's very, very reliable when we use MCPs. And Fabian, I think we're going to see something on this front just in the coming 6 weeks. Is that fair?
Yeah, coming
Maybe
6
maybe
weeks.
that's
That's a long time, I was about to say. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sure I can commit to that timeline. Yeah.
Awesome. So Sherry is agreeing with some people in the chat who are talking about support in general. They filed a ticket, they didn't hear back from a human. They heard back from an AI, and they want to know, is there a plan to focus on more human support when needed?
Yes, yes. So we have 5 amazing support engineers. We need more support engineers. If someone is interested to join us on support, please reach out to us. About the AI answering, we know that some people actually really like the AI responses because they're instant. Well, but of course, for some questions, they are not satisfactory. So we're going to we're committed to becoming better at knowing when a human should answer.
Yeah.
Cam asks, what does the next 3 and 6 months look like in such a rapidly evolving space? How is the Lovable team approaching product planning and expanding into?
How are we planning, first of all? So what do we want to create at Lovable? Well, we're building towards having anyone being able to set up a business from just going to Lovable, and everything reliably works to get a full commercial grade software that accepts that can bring in revenue, and that's what we're focused on achieving. We think that this also, like, if we achieve that, then all the other use cases that we're seeing that are not building a business but building a website or building a tool for yourselves, they will naturally fall into place as an effect of that. And so that's how we approach the planning, and more specifically how the product is going to evolve in those 3 to 6 months is going to be improving the amount of integrations and how those integrations work, how easy it is to set up storing data, logging in, and connecting to the integrations like AI features and payments and analytics. So making all of these things work more seamlessly. And one key thing that people who are running their applications in productions know is that it's not trivial to change the system when it is running in production without affecting your users, and that is one of our top priorities, to make sure that once the system is running in production, you can change it without risking that it affects your users.
Yeah, I would say right now Lovable, it works in one environment, which is great when you're testing, and it's very simple to reason about. You only have one place with data, and the code, they're always the same. But when you go to production, you generally want a dev environment. So that's something we're gonna be shipping. But I just want to say also, like, now we talked about different features like analytics and so on, which are all great things we want to and are going to add. But really, the main focus is making it more reliable, building like more complex apps, and really pushing the frontier of what's possible to build with AI, and basically improving this core feeling of asking Lovable to do something and then Lovable building that for you, and making that faster and better is our main priority.
So Andrew asks, how do I make sure my app doesn't crash when I add complicated features? This is definitely something people see all the time. I call it vibe coding off a cliff. You just let the AI do things, and the next thing you know, your website no longer works, and you're like, what's going on? So how can people avoid that?
Yeah.
It depends, Fabian.
it depends. So maybe me and Anton will have a few different strategies here. So I think one thing not everyone that uses Lovable knows is that Lovable has versioning. So just like a developer uses Git, And that's just a fancy word for being able to go back in different versions. So that means that if you feel you've started going off a cliff, like you said, then you can always roll back to a previous version, and that's something to kind of keep in mind. Sometimes that's the right choice to do, to like take a few steps back and then try to go forward in a different direction. And the other thing I would encourage people to try out, if they're getting stuck when building more complicated things, is to use the new chat mode and chat with the AI there, because then Lovable still has full context of your code, but it will not be allowed to edit the code, and that can generally be a pretty good way to force Lovable to think more about, okay, what should we actually do here before running straight into action. And you as a user can be more in control of like, all right, this sounds good, this sounds like a solid plan, let's try to take it forward.
Anton, you have anything to add?
So, as someone who has built startups, I think it's often wise to do a lot of thinking and try to do as few complex features as possible before you know that they're going to be necessary, because it always becomes harder if you're writing code as an engineer, as I've done, when you add many complex features to evolve the product. So if you can try to simplify before you start asking the AI to do advanced things, you're going to have a much better time. And then, like, when you do know that you want to have added complex features, I sometimes just create a new separate project, create only that complex feature, make sure it works, and I learn a bit about how I make it work, and then I go back to my main project and I add that complex. I have now learned like what was most important to make it work, and I break it down into piecewise chunks to get all the way to the complex feature working end to end, while testing in each step that I haven't messed anything up, potentially doing a rollback, as Fabian mentioned. But this is a 1 hour session, so I'm not going to
do a separate AMA just about that.
Exactly, a whole session, how to not vibe code across the cliff. I think I would watch that. But Timothy asked, can we get a better integration with Stripe? I have heard time and time again, you probably seen too, people get really confused and frustrated with Stripe. Even without the AI, Stripe is still kind of complicated to install. I've done it. I would not recommend someone to do it from scratch. So when can we make it even easier and Lovable to use Stripe?
Yeah, I think if you used it like a month ago or something, we've done some updates since during that time, so it has improved a bit. I think there is
a big difference. It's just I'm sorry, there's a big difference in some months ago, but yes, it still can become confusing. And do we have a guide? Maybe someone in the team can help point out where to find the guide for how to do the Stripe setup. I think. Go ahead, Fabian.
No, I was just going to add that right now, Lovable, it's we've taught it to like the best practices to build the Stripe setup, but you still have to go into like the Stripe dashboard yourself and kind of grab the correct like product IDs or like the IDs from Stripe and configure the webhooks in Stripe yourself. And this is something we're gonna ship to make Lovable like take control and be able to configure Stripe for you. And that way it's like less copy pasting, and Lovable can take more of a like a holistic approach to integrating with Stripe, basically making it a lot easier. You don't have to go into like the developer settings in the Stripe dashboard and do things.
Great. Amon asks, what would you say to a first-year computer science and math undergrad who wants to delve deep into AI and machine learning and someday join the Lovable team?
So I can just say that we are expecting to grow the Lovable team, and we are looking for very ambitious people who are technical, who want to be generalists and do different types of things in the team, and the best way to get noticed by us is probably to engage in the community and help others and ping Talisha and share what you what you would be interested in contributing to. It's yeah, as I said, there as we want like you might not know this, but Talisha is doing the community at Lovable, and she has been doing computer science and started an AI startup in the past, and that's usually what like everyone at the company has a technical background like that almost.
Yeah, Fabian, do you have anything to add?
I think it's really cool when people build cool stuff, and that can be with Lovable or something else for that matter. But just the fact that you're doing stuff in the space, I think, shows a lot of the things we that we're looking for when we're working with people here.
Yes. So in
Build impressive things.
yeah.
So,
Hang out in the community with me and build cool things. I mean, that's literally how I got a job here. So it works. So on LinkedIn, Alexander is asking, how do you deal with context size limitations as projects grow larger? This is a big issue in LLMs. Context of the code base is growing longer. Context of your chat is growing longer. How do you compensate?
Good question. I think we do a lot of smart things that I could go into detail in the separate session potentially on the technical side. But as a user, how to think about this is that you can the best way to ensure that the AI looks at the right places in the code and so on is to start one of the chat sessions where the AI incrementally reads more and more parts of the entire code base. And then when you chatted about how to implement the feature, you ask the AI, how do you think I should do this? Which files are most relevant? And then if you know a bit of coding, or you just try to think about it, maybe help the AI create a plan. Then when the AI has together with you created a plan, you phrase a very, very specific questions about which parts of the code to change. It's going to work much more reliably, even though you have a larger project. And then so that's my main recommendations when you have a large project. The other one is that if you do a change in a large complicated project, you are currently as a user, you should go in and double check that it's still working as it did before you did the change to the large project, and be very, very clear to the AI what is not working after you did a change. And so you going through that loop of testing after you do changes ensures that we do that as well at Lovable. And sometimes we fail to do that, as you might have noticed. But we have to always check: did anything stop working after we changed the product? And then if it has, we go back and change it. Or maybe Talisha discovers it and she explains to Fabian, "Hey, I'm trying to do this, but this happens while I'm expecting something to happen." And if you explain in that format, the AI is much more likely to understand what went wrong and try to fix that.
Yes, definitely. Also, a cool thing that you didn't mention in Lovable 2.0 is that larger projects load 10 times faster than they did previously. So we did get a little bit of a speed boost there if you are struggling with your context size limitations, which is cool, I think. Sell asks, are there any brand integrations in the future so the design fits the brand colors, etc.? A lot of people have asked about this. They want to bring in their own design systems, their own fonts, their own colors. They want to be like Nat.
Yes, great question.
Yeah.
This is something we are working on, so stay tuned. There are still ways that you can achieve this, and what I would recommend is that you start a completely new project with screenshots of what you want it to look like. You can put in code as well. You can put in your design system or your styling, CSS styling in the code, and then you try to find such a prompt that makes it look like you want it to look, and then you save that prompt and you use that every time you create a new project. Is that fair, Fabian?
Yeah, I would say also the custom knowledge. Once you create a project, if you want something to be retained throughout, like every new message you say and not lost in the chat, you can put it into the custom knowledge, and then it will remember that for each new chat message. And so, for example, you could put in there, make sure to always use sans serif, use this color theme, and so on, and you can kind of encode your
Can I
your
interrupt
theme
you?
there.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
custom knowledge is useful, and we're not being so structured on this answer. But let me try one more time actually. So if you want to reuse your brand every time, I think what the best way is actually to do what I said. You get to a place where you have a lot of components, like types of components that you want to have as the design system, and then you say, okay, great. Now I'm done with the design system and the components. And for future projects, you start by remixing. So you know you can go to the menu and then you can remix. You can go to settings and you can remix it so that you get a new project that you can build upon, and that retains that styling.
Yeah.
So you just have your bookmark your project that has the design system and remix it every time you start a new one.
Yeah, and just to make it clear how that works is that like when you create a project, Lovable will create all the components with a default styling, and then Lovable will start using those components, and you can focus your prompting on just like customizing these components. And then once you remix that project, which is just making a copy of it, you'll have that same style in the components, and you can just make it start using them, and you'll have the same design and feel.
Awesome. So as a reminder for all of those who are watching that may have came in later, hello to everyone. Please in the chat put question or Q in a colon so that we can easily find your question, and we will try to get to as many as we can. Now, Justin is asking, so he's on the teens plan. He gets about 400 credits a month, and he's wondering why does it require another plan to create a new workspace? He wants each team member to have their own workspace. So I think we should go a little into how the pricing with the new Teams plan works.
Yeah.
So that we just added workspaces. So this, I'm not the best at answering, Fabian. I think you can answer, and we all of course always love feedback on how it works right now, so that we can make it the best possible way. Go ahead, Fabian.
Yeah. So a workspace right now, right, in Lovable, it's a place where all your projects live. It's a place that has all the members of that workspace, the people that can edit and read those projects, and it's also tied to the billing and your plan, and it has shared credits in that workspace. And what we're gonna do on this going forward is we're gonna keep on evolving this. And I think what the question here highlights is that you want kind of your own little space where you just have your projects, and not have a separate plan for that. And I think we would add something like a folder within the workspace, like where you can organize projects, and that would solve for this need here, I think, from Dustin.
Fantastic. So Benjamin over on LinkedIn is asking, what advice would you give for non-coders to be able to finalize and deploy that last 30% of development? Do you suggest go to a complementary tool like Cursor or Windsor? I think this is a great question because a lot of people come from non-technical backgrounds, and as the project gets more complex, they struggle to understand what might be happening under the hood. So how can they fill that gap from I have this great idea, the AI coded it, and I need it to be production ready, safe, and ready to use?
I first of all, I want to say we are committed to making sure you don't have to go outside of Lovable to make the full app work, and that's how most successful products have been made. If it's a very complex feature, then you want a human engineer to be looped in as you do the final touches and as you evolve it over time. So with when it has users, and like if you want to use Visual Studio Code or JetBrains, Cursor, Windsurf, I think it's mainly about like either finding a great engineer that knows the the technology that's being used, the very standard web technologies, TypeScript, or if you want to do it yourself, well, I think you should make sure to first understand what is what in the code base. So first you connect GitHub, and then you open it in your editor, like Visual Studio Cursor, Windsurf, and you understand what is what, and you run it locally, and then you talk to the AI to understand, to talk a lot to the AI to understand what is needed to be done to make it work, to get the last 30% done, and keep asking questions to the AI. And over time, you're going to become, you're going to learn a lot of things, which is very valuable. Also learn a lot of things that will be valuable when you come back to using Lovable to evolve the product.
Yeah.
Talk to AI and try to understand how everything comes together.
Yeah, exactly. So on a high level, I would say what we're trying to do with Lovable and what the product does is that it gives you this very abstracted way to build product, which even for me as an engineer, it's very nice to kind of just sit back and tell the AI what to do. And I think most people here in the chat have that experience. I almost feel a bit lazy sometimes, but it's very nice. And this comes sometimes with the effect of that you forget that, okay, the AI is actually writing code. And if the AI gets stuck, it can be hard for me as a human to kind of follow along with, okay, what actually happened under the hood. And that's fine as long as you don't build something too complex where the AI will struggle. And if you're building something that is, I would say, on the frontier of what is possible, then you can generally get a lot further by doing what Anton said, in kind of understanding a bit, trying to dive deeper and learning more about, okay, what is the AI actually struggling with? So instead of just saying, try to fix it, like our button has, which is the very general approach, and that works some of the time. But when that doesn't work, it can require you as a human to go in and try to understand the problem a bit more. And then we have a GitHub connection, so you can connect to GitHub and you can ask any of your developer friends if you have any of those, and they can come in, and if they understand the same just popular tech stack that we use for Lovable, then they can kind of come in and help out to get unstuck potentially.
Yes, love it. All right. We have a question from Bobby. He says, what is the security scan in the new Lovable 2.0?
Good question. Fabian.
So we've partnered with Superbase to provide our backend, and it uses something called RLS policies, which is this row level security policies. And there's a bunch of kind of best practices and how you configure these policies. And what the security scan does is that it goes in and looks at how this is configured and makes sure it's configured in a secure way. And the way I think about this is that when you're just developing and you don't have any live data or you haven't productionized your app, I think it's very helpful to just think about the functionality and so on. But before you press that publish button, it's generally good to think twice about, okay, how am I actually handling data? Especially if you're doing something with personal data or passwords and so on, then it's crucial to really check the code and make sure it's right. And kind of this security scan that we have is a tool to help with understanding if there's any issues, and the AI can help solve those.
Wonderful. So now we're seeing a lot of questions in the chat in general about what the pricing is now. Did Lovable 2.0 increase pricing? How does that affect me as an existing user? We would love some clarity around how much do I pay now and why?
Yep. So for loyal, lovable users, you are not staying on your existing prices. So you can open pricing and say that, okay, you're going to stay on those lower prices as long as you don't, as long as you stay as a customer. And what we have noticed is that for a lot of use cases, there's so much AI consumption, which costs us a lot of money. So we had to increase prices for new users. And the changes are quite small generally. You can find the details if you go to lovable.dev/pricing. And there's it is once you add enough collaborators, you upgrade to a higher pricing tier, which has some benefits.
Fabian, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, we upped the price from $25 from 20 on the initial tier, and that kind of follows up on the next tiers as well. And then as you grow to larger tiers, we also have a volume discount then to kind of make the credits cheaper per credit.
Lead asks, my biggest question revolves around being able to give Lovable an instruction and having it completed through a multi-step process without continually stopping. So this goes back to, how do you prompt Lovable the most effective way to get what you want?
Can I try to do a short one here? We have noticed that you get the best results if you stay in the loop as a human. And for now, we recommend to do quite small prompts and check that everything ended up as you wanted before you do the next step. Over time, for some cases, we will of course be supporting many steps at a time. But it is a bit dangerous. Like you don't want to let the AI vibe code you off a cliff, as Alicia says, automatically.
Yeah, and I will say this is also like very nuanced, like how you should prompt Lovable. And I think one of the best ways to learn is to experiment. But as Anton said, like the general tip is that break it into smaller prompts and do a bit at a time, and make sure you verify as you go along, so you don't end up like breaking something that maybe broke like 10 edits ago, and then you have to like go and search it. If you're staying in the loop and you're kind of testing as you go, then hopefully there's not surprises.
Great. If you're just joining us, we have about 15 minutes left, everybody. Make sure you're putting your questions in the chat queue so we can see it easily. Here's a bit of a hot take from Antonia. Are you guys looking to become the next Figma?
That's a great question.
What does that mean?
I mean, we want to create this package where you don't have to go outside of Lovable to create your product. And I think I'm not such a big user of Figma, so I cannot answer if there are other use cases for Figma that we will never support. But we don't have anything against Figma.
Yeah, I mean, me as a developer, like when I've built stuff, I've always kind of prototyped in code myself. So like for me, going to like having to type everything manually to using Lovable, it feels very familiar because it's in the same way that Lovable is just writing code to prototype, and you can have it like interactive and so on, and it's generally more like you can share a Lovable prototype and have it use an AI request within the prototype, and you can have buttons that do a bunch of crazy stuff, and it's quite fast to get there on a prototype. So I think the tools still serve a bit of a different purpose. Like you can import Figma designs into Lovable and so on. So, but yeah, you can use Lovable directly for prototyping as well.
Great. Kevin asks, has the team spent any time looking into previous generation of low-code platforms like Microsoft Power Apps while building Lovable? How do you see the next generation of low-code vibe coding platforms evolving?
Yeah. So I tried a lot of them, and I always get confused, to be honest. Like there's so many buttons to kind of know and so on, and I can see that people that use them a lot can become quite good at using them. But what we're trying to do with Lovable is really to keep the interface very simple, so you don't have this kind of long learning curve of like learning what all of these different buttons do and so on. And it's more just about having this very simple setup where you have a chat and you have a preview and you ask for something, and then so the biggest kind of takeaway I have is that I just want to make it simpler for people to build and not have to learn too much about how to use the tool. It should be intuitive.
I'd back that up. We are thinking about this most intuitive interface for building products, and it's nothing like what you've seen before. Right? It's constantly evolving. We make it as good as possible.
How or when do you plan on integrating website analytics such as Google Analytics 4?
We're currently planning and like doing some discovery on how we best want to do this, and it's coming up. I'm not sure I want to commit to a timeline here, Anton. If you want to set the timeline, then maybe I can say yes. But it's something we're actively looking at, and yeah.
Love it. All right. So Per joined a little late, so maybe it was covered, but I think it's still great to talk about. Could you share your thoughts on the security feature roadmap? Big plus, of course, for the recent improvements. So what else is coming?
So I will not share much details, but AI is actually good at understanding if there are any vulnerabilities, and that's something we're going to leverage in the future. Before, like in connection when you publish your project, I think, if one would look at what are the vulnerabilities, the only vulnerabilities we've seen, Fabian, they should be addressed 100% with the security updates we added now, which are the security inspector. But please correct me if I'm wrong, if there are any vulnerabilities that are not addressed with vulnerabilities we have seen.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always hesitant to say like 100% of security vulnerabilities are addressed, because that's never the case. Like you'll have Microsoft, you'll have these big governments being hacked and so on. But what we're committed to is making Lovable the most secure platform to vibe code on. And this first security scan feature that we've added is just a start of what we want to do to make sure that the software that you build is secure, and that's something we're very committed to keep on improving and shipping new things on.
Okay, great. We've had a lot of questions about credits, and they all boil down to, why don't Lovable credits roll over? Is there a way to get more credits without upgrading? The people would love to know.
Yeah, this is a good question. I like to solve difficult problems, and I think rolling over is, when you dig into it, it's not exactly clear how it could work. But since we're so focused on improving the products and the reliability there, what we have right now is that on a case by case, if you lost a lot of credits that didn't roll over, the support might help you get credits back from the last month if you're still a customer at Lovable. So it's something that we're thinking about, and we are looking to find the best solution for this as we've stabilized and improved the product more.
Wonderful. So we only have a few more time left. This question is huge, but basically what he's asking is, one, should you do a mega prompt or little prompts? Which way is better for prompting? And two, does speaking in English make a difference?
Yeah, so I think it actually depends if you want to do a mega prompt or a smaller prompt. Too long prompts is bad. If you're doing changes to a project, very long prompts are usually bad. Very long smaller prompts are more reliable, but they should contain all the information necessary for the AI to understand exactly what you mean.
I think really, I think you touched on something greater, Anton, which is like the length of the prompt isn't necessarily what will determine the success of the prompt. It's more about how clear the prompt is. And is there ambiguity in what you're saying? Often when I'm prompting, I'm quite lazy, so I just say something short and it's quite ambiguous. And if I would say this to a human developer, they probably wouldn't understand me either. So generally try to be like, you don't have to. You can always just be unclear and hope that the AI understands. But there's, if you feel like the AI misunderstands you, then that's a good hint to try to be clear.
Wonderful. So we just have a few minutes left. I want to thank everyone who has joined us, who has asked questions. Sorry we couldn't get to everybody's questions. There's a ton of questions. I tried to get to as many people's questions as I could. So while we wrap up, I have one question for the both of you. What is next at Lovable?
A lot of things are going to evolve at Lovable, and I think what we're most committed to is to make it possible to reliably change your project without it being stuck, and secondly, to evolve your project without being afraid that it affects your current system that is if it's running with real users. And those are the two things that are on the top of priority. But we have a much longer list, and probably maybe you want to add something to this and share a few more of the ones that are coming up.
I mean, I don't think I want to share any like hot takes on what's coming up. I think we'll tease that when it's time. But what I will say is that, you know, if you used Lovable 3 months ago or 6 months ago, you will have seen, you know, we might have some new cool features and so on, but you'll also feel that generally you can get a lot further than what you could do 6 months ago. And we had a question here, what's the plan for the coming 3 months and the coming 6 months? And that's really still just the top of our priority, like making sure that what you can create with Lovable is even more impressive things, and hopefully we can keep on improving the same way we have been, and making sure that, you know, we can deliver in the best way possible, like and in the end it should feel like you're working with a professional human software engineer that is much faster, hopefully. I am at least.
It should be better than working with us.
Absolutely.
Talisha, can you say something before we wrap up? It was fun to hear what people are thinking about. It was valuable for me and Fabian as we build a company, and I value that. And it's the most important thing to make the product better, to build in the right direction, and we're constantly listening. And I would love to run more of these sessions. I was thinking maybe we would want to run them focused on one more specific area. And do you think we should ask the chat, like if we would run a question answering session, or a bit of a learn how to use Lovable better with a deep dive? We can share our screens and show in practice what we mean. Which specific theme we could have on such a question session?
Yes, no, I love that. Yes, Pat.
Okay, let's do that.
Number one, if you want the session, put 1. And number 2, if you have a topic, put the topic in, and I will go back and read all of them. I'm a speed reader. I'll read them fast. And we can get it going. I love it. Yes, awesome. So I always do this. Join our Discord. I can't help myself. Join the Discord. I'm always in the Discord. Happy to help. Happy to listen. You can call me on the Discord. I actually do answer, but don't call me all the time because sometimes I'm asleep. But I'm happy to help. Happy to listen. I love the Lovable community. They're very lovable. We appreciate your feedback. If you have given us feedback on our feedback form, I have read all of them. Fabian and Anton have read them. So we super appreciate it. We hear what you're saying, and we're working hard. The entire team is working hard to make Lovable the best product out there for vibe coders to build your dreams on Lovable. I mean, we've heard from so many people who they're no coders. They don't have technical backgrounds. They're at their second point in life, and they want to build something amazing. And I love that you can build it on Lovable. Are there any final words before we wrapped up from Fabian and Anton to send our community out with?
Well, thank you so much for attending this session. I'm happy to do more sessions that you are interested in, and keep engaging with the community and share what you build. And like, for example, Lovable launch makes me so happy every time I go in and see what people are building.
Yeah, it's the best just to see people ship, and especially like see the success stories of what people are making, especially I think for people who aren't developers like myself, and start doing things where I'm like, damn, that would have taken me a lot of time to make, and just seeing how it's enabling people. So yeah, I think keep building cool stuff.
I love it. Well, thank you so much, everybody. Please follow us on Twitter, join our Discord, connect with us on LinkedIn. We want to hear what you have to say. We want to keep the discussion going. And like Anton said, we're going to do more of these sessions so we can speak directly with you. So, adios, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your day.